Ocean acidification and their effect on coral skeletons. Ocean water absorbs carbon dioxide, and as the level of CO2 increases, it causes ocean acidification. Acidification affects the production of coral skeletons. Coral skeletons are made up of a type of calcium carbonate called aragonite. Their skeletons grow upward by the stacking of aragonite crystals. These crystals allow the skeletons to be strong against currents, winds, and other natural damages. When CO2 is absorbed into the ocean, it reduces the production of coral skeletons. It decreases their density and leaves them vulnerable to breaking, impacting the sustainability to coral reefs. Wood's Whole Oceanographic Institution states, ocean acidification is more insidious and difficult to detect, and thus harder to predict. Coral skeletons is just one factor affected by climate change.
Coral reefs are one of the most diverse ecosystems in the world. They provide shelter to millions of marine species. They also provide food for hundreds of millions of people, are a major source of tourism income, and are a barrier against tropical storms like tsunamis and cyclones. The IPCC says that coral reefs are the most vulnerable marine ecosystem, with a small chance for adaptation to the changing climate and temperatures. The NOAA estimates that 20% of coral reefs are already damaged and beyond recovery, while 50% are under risk of collapse. The major issue facing our coral reef systems is coral bleaching. Corals have a symbiotic relationship with an algae called zooxanthellae, which is the primary source of food for coral and gives it its color. However, due to warming ocean temperatures, the coral becomes stressed and therefore causes this algae to be expelled. As a result, the coral loses its primary food source, as well as its color, which is why this event is referred to as coral bleaching. Although coral can survive a bleaching event, it is much more stressed and susceptible to disease from the loss of algae. Now here is a before and after photo showing just one example of this devastating bleaching event that is affecting many of the world's coral reef systems.
Rising temperatures. Corals can be found in both warm and cold ocean waters, but highly diverse coral reefs are found specifically in warm waters. Due to the rising temperatures and the ocean's absorption of CO2, the water is becoming too warm and too acidic, and is therefore causing the coral reefs to lose their algae, their primary food source, and starve to death. Human-induced climate change is the leading cause of rising temperatures and coral bleachings. The Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is one of the world's largest coral reef system and is composed of 2,900 individual reefs. As of 2016, half of the Great Barrier Reef has been bleached to death, and the major reason for this bleaching event is carbon pollution, which is causing the planet and ocean waters to warm significantly and is therefore stressing the coral.
Coral reef ecosystems. Many fish are affected by coral bleaching. For example, the polyp-eating butterfly fish, which depends on coral communities for feeding grounds. The small-sized damselfish also relies on coral structures for protection against predators. The decline of these fish species results in severe loss of fish biodiversity. After coral bleaching occurs, many fish relocate to other coral reefs that have not been affected. Relocation allows some fish to survive but is detrimental to the recovery of bleached corals. After corals are bleached, seaweed begins to grow over the dead skeletons. The fish in coral communities are vital to removing the seaweed from dead corals in order to allow new corals to grow. Marine protected areas. These are areas that are designated to protect marine species and ecosystems for natural and cultural purposes. They have proven to be effective at protecting coral reefs. Although marine protected areas cannot prevent ocean acidification and coral bleaching, the effort has helped protect them from being damaged any further from human activities.
Some ways on how you can help the coral reefs. The ultimate solution is to reduce the emissions of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, but some others that we can do more often is recycle and dispose of the trash properly. So sometimes the marine debris can be harmful to coral reefs. Another one would be use environmentally friendly modes of transportation. So instead of driving a car, Try to walk, bike, or use public transportation like buses and trains more often. Be conscious when you're trying to buy aquarium fish. Avoid purchasing living coral, and if you buy a marine aquarium fish, make sure that it has been collected in a sustainable manner. Minimize the use of fertilizers. EPA divers swimming over a coral reef outcrop showing stony corals and soft corals. EPA. The overuse of fertilizers on lawns harm water quality because nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus from the fertilizer are washed into waterways and eventually end up in oceans. Thus, nutrients pollute the water and can harm coral reefs. Reduce stormwater runoff. Reducing stormwater runoff can also help prevent water pollution, reduce flooding, and protect our water resources.